This is the certificate. Just like this. The citation. So he's just been presented with his certificate.
Central Regional Minister, Minister for Education, Chancellor, Chairperson and members of the Governing Council, Osaberima Kwesiata II, Omahene of the Ogwa Traditional Area, Ahunabu Brim, Prajinsem VI, Paramount of Cape Coast, and to have the opportunity to make these romantic degree by this special congregation. Nelson, December 2017, at the end of the first year of my presidency, from the University of Liberia, the fourth oldest institution of higher education in Africa. This, the third, is the first from an institution in my own country. Which makes it understandably very special for me. I thank very much the Chancellor, Chairperson and members of the Governing Council, Vice Chancellor, members of Convocation, and Registrar for taking this decision. And I assure all of you that I'll do my very best to uphold the highest standards associated with this award. Chancellor, there are a lot of things for which Cape Coast, the location of this university, has become synonymous. It was once the administrative capital of the Philip Kweku School in 1836. And it is the home of the first boys' secondary school in Fansipim School, established 40 years later in 1876. I doubt if there exists anywhere else in the world a town that has the same congregation of top secondary schools as there are in Cape Coast, which initiated the first phase of our struggle for national independence. The society was formed to resist the application and implementation of the 1897 Crown Lands Bill, which sought to sequestrate and expropriate our lands to the benefit of the British Crown. The society mobilized the chiefs and people and public opinion in the Gold Coast to agitate against this pernicious legislation. Their agitation forced the colonial power to withdraw the bill, and the indigenous ownership of our lands was never an issue again during the rest of the colonial period. We continue to possess our lands freely because of the bravery and foresight of the members of the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, and we must continually pay homage to these patriots. They spared us the fate that continues to bedevil the lives of our brothers and sisters in Southern and Eastern Africa, who suffered at the same time the fate of colonial expropriation of their lands. Indeed, the most prominent of these noble patriots were the three gentlemen from Cape Coast. Jacob Say, described as the first recorded indigenous multimillionaire in the Gold Coast, who founded the society and became its founding president, and was the forerunner of George Alfred Parr Grant, another successful merchant prince, who 50 years later to the day funded the United Gold Coast Convention, UGCC of blessed memory, which initiated the second phase of our struggle for freedom. Joseph Casely Hayford, the future author of Ethiopia Unbound, a pioneer of the Pan-African movement and one of the founders of the British West African National Congress, which sought to unite the colonial peoples of British West Africa in their demand for freedom. And John Mensah Saba, the first Ghanaian lawyer and principal advocate of the society's cause. Their names are boldly etched in the annals of our nation's struggle for freedom and stand as perpetual inspirations of patriotic endeavor. I'm delighted that this university, established in this famous town to advance the cause of education and excellence in our country, is the first Ghanaian university to accord me this honor, even though I do not have the accolade of being its alumnus. This accolade has been conferred on me because of the introduction and acceptance of the free SHS policy promoted by my government, which has expanded dramatically access to education, enabling hundreds of thousands of young men and women from all corners of our country to go to senior high school. The policy has reversed decades of exclusion, which denied on the average 100,000 young men and women annually entry to senior high school education because of the poverty of their parents. The policy has meant that our nation can now begin to reap the fruits of the talents of all its young people, as has been spectacularly demonstrated by the outstanding results of the first graduates of the policy in the most recent WASI examinations. Of the 465 who obtained 8 A's in the exams, the Akufo Addo graduates from Ghana, as they have become known, were responsible for 411 of them. Not only has access been widened, but quality has also been maintained, indeed, even enhanced. Government is also ensuring that access to tertiary education is expanded through the removal of the guarantor requirement that makes it difficult for some students to apply for loans through the Student Loan Trust Fund Scheme. This process of expansion of educational opportunities has to be the bedrock of educational policy in the 21st century for our nation, if we are to make the rapid transformation of our social and economic lives we all seek. Through this award, I've been added to the thousands of alumni of the University of Cape Coast who are contributing their quota in various fields to the development of our country, including some of the most hard-working members of my government. And our performance will be a reflection on the university. I pray that both UCC and I keep up the mutual confidence in each other and live up to our expectations. Chancellor, I've been in the eyes of the public for most of my adult life and spent many years campaigning to be elected President of our Republic. The first foray I made into national politics was in the 1970s, the mid-1970s, during the Kutua Champong regime, and it was to join in the fight for an end to military rule and the restoration of constitutional democracy in Ghana. I had by this time firmly made up my mind what I felt would be the best way to govern our country, to ensure that we would achieve the free, just, prosperous, and united nation that our forefathers envisaged in starting the fight for the independence of Ghana. My credo could be easily summarized as a belief in constitutional government based on freedom of association, freedom of speech, freedom of the media, the separation of powers with an independent judiciary, the rule of law, a strong and dynamic parliament, and a private sector that unleashes the energies of the people to prosper. By the time I was elected president, I think that I established my credentials as a champion for individual freedom and press freedom in particular. So what do I make of the current accusations that are being made that freedoms are under attack under the Akufo Addo government? I do not claim to have been a lone knight in shining armor, but it is fair to say we went through many battles together to get where we are today in the media sphere in our country. We did not wake up suddenly one morning to find ourselves with over 400 different radio stations and dozens of television channels instead of one radio station and one television station, both owned by the state and under the firm and unrelenting control of government. The criminal libel law, which had been part of our legal architecture for decades, did not just suddenly disappear from our laws. I have been a part and sometimes led the struggle for individual rights and freedom of the press in this country. I believe in it. It is part of my makeup. And when it comes to the freedom of the press, I am certain I have nothing to apologize for with reference to anything I have ever done or said. In the 2007 campaign to become the flag bearer of the new Patriotic Party, we used the slogan, "Yenimu Fritete," to wit, we have known you from long ago. Chancellor, we must know what we are buying when we go to the shop. When we cast our ballots for someone, we must know what that person stands for. If we vote for Akufo Addo, the human rights campaigner, to become president of our country, we have a right to expect that, backed by the Constitution and the presidential oath, we would have a human rights respecter, President Akufo Addo. I did not imagine that the reputation I had brought to the job would be enough to carry through a freedom and rights protection agenda. Right from the beginning of my term in office, therefore, I tried to strengthen the institutions that would give meaning to the protection of our freedoms. More infrastructural development funds have been allocated to the judiciary in the past 4 years than we have ever seen, and it has gone along with human resource development. Budgetary allocations to the police service, SRAJ, NCCE, and Parliament have all been increased significantly and deliberately to boost up the capacities of these institutions. The Right to Information Act has been passed under my presidency and is now in operation despite successive governments shying away from it. That is how rights and freedoms are best protected. Since becoming president, there's nothing I have seen or experienced in the office that would make me change my long-held views on the importance of fundamental human rights. I had worked with civil society organizations and used their platforms to engage in famous arguments. Indeed, I still enjoy a healthy debate, and I'm not averse to the occasional controversy that is a necessary part of public life. I do not forget that I made a living practicing as a lawyer and going to court, which means that I know I would lose some arguments. I appreciate well-argued opinions and challenge the status quo. I need no lessons in the importance of a vigorous media in building a healthy democracy. I have said so, and I will say it again, that I would much rather we had a reckless press than a supine one. And I dare say that the atmosphere in our country is one of spirited conversation and debate among politicians, the business community, civil society organizations, and ordinary citizens. Through print, radio, television, or in particular, social media, whether they are home or abroad. Indeed, I dare say the means to get your voice heard has never been so democratized as now, and long may it last. Having said that, I must also acknowledge that, as our elders say, it is the person wearing the shoes that is able to say exactly where it pinches. Therefore, I should listen when it is suggested that journalists are under attack under my government. It remains a matter of great regret to me that the murder of Ahmed Swale has still not been resolved. But believe me, this is not for want of commitment on the part of the police. And I couldn't have made it any clearer that government has no interest in covering up whatever might be or whoever might be involved. There is no indication that his death was in the instance of the government. In the end, his murderer will be caught, tried, and punished. I believe it is in the interest of the state, in the interest of the people of Ghana, and in the interest of government, the journalists are and feel able to go about their work in safety. And I'll continue to do all I can to make this a reality of Ghana. In my political career over the years, I've been at the receiving end of much vitriol and deliberate falsehood thrown at me to cause maximum damage to my reputation and my political prospects. I know what it is like to be unable to protect members of your family from the mud aimed at you, but which splashes on them as well. I'm not alone in this. And there are unfortunately several journalists that have been willing to lend themselves to the destruction of people's reputations and livelihoods without just cause. Not all journalists are upright citizens, just as politicians, painters, and farmers are not all upright citizens. But I do expect our institutions to deal fairly and equitably with all citizens according to the dictates of the law when people go wrong. Let me end by addressing a particular line of the current argument being made about the threat to rights and freedoms. I believe this has led to a new definition of a culture of silence. It goes along the line. That when people in government and all government policies are criticized, and there is a defense of the people of policies, it is intimidatory and leads to a culture of silence. A radio station is currently running a campaign against free SHS. During the last election, I got the clear impression free SHS had been endorsed by all political parties, and all we needed to do was to keep improving it. Would a spirited defense of the free SHS policy constitute an attack on press freedom? I wonder. It cannot be that everyone has a right of reply except members of the government and officialdom. Nor can it be that challenging an opinion expressed by a journalist constitutes an attack on press freedom. What I believe may be sorely lacking in our society today is the need to listen to each other more. Knowledge has never been a gift granted exclusively to one group. We must listen and hear each other more. And for me personally, I find it ironic that the presidency of a man who has been and continues to be daily the most vilified political figure of his generation can be accused of presiding over a culture of silence. There's no midnight knock on the door in Ghana for authors of dissenting views, nor will there be during my presidency. Indeed, one of the reasons assigned by the global social media platform Twitter for its decision to establish its operational headquarters in Africa in Ghana was that, and I quote, "Ghana is a supporter of free speech, online freedom, and the open internet," unquote. These qualities possessed by our nation also influenced the decision by the Federation of African Journalists to announce the holding of its annual conference in Ghana this year because of Ghana's attachment to a culture and practice of free media. Chancellor, there's also been talk about a state of insecurity prevailing in the country, following reports by some sections of the media. A cursory glance at the statistics from the police service shows that, on the contrary, crime cases, at least for the first quarter of 2021, are coming down as compared to the same quarter in 2020. For example, there was a nationwide reduction in robbery cases from 525 during the period under review in 2020 to 495 in 2021, and still declining. Inasmuch as a marked reduction in the levels of crime would be preferable, government is determined to work with the police service to guarantee the security of persons and protect lives and property in accordance with the rule of law. That is why, in addition to increasing substantially the numerical strength of the police service, government has since 2017 procured some 735 additional vehicles, including 15 operational buses, a feat unprecedented in the history of the service. It must be put on record that before I came to office in 2017, the police service had a total of 492 serviceable vehicles. 320 housing units are being constructed in the National Police Training School to reduce the accommodation deficits of the service. Modern communication equipment and fragmentation jackets have been procured and delivered to the service to protect officers and ensure effective policing. The construction of hangars at the police depot in Accra for 4 helicopters already procured for the Ghana Police Service is 99% complete. An air wing unit has been established by the Ghana Police, and 6 pilots have been trained and passed out to man the wing. A new K9 unit has been established with 30 dogs and 30 police officers. The Criminal Investigations Department has been equipped with a digital forensics laboratory, and for the first time in the history of the department, crime officers are given a monthly allowance to support their investigations. We are retooling the CID Forensic Science Laboratory. The CID building has also now become disability friendly, and there is continuous training of CID officers. Government is determined to give whatever support is required to ensure that we have a police service that the people of Ghana deserve. Chancellor, I belong with pride to the Dankwa Domo Buzia political tradition, one whose forebears, at great personal sacrifice, fought for the democratic, open, free system of government we are enjoying today in Ghana. They propagated the concept of democracy at a time when it was not in Africa a fashionable concept. Indeed, the philosophy of the new patriotic party coincides with that of the Fourth Republican Constitution. It is the dominant political philosophy in the world today and has stood the test of time. We in the MPP view civil liberties and human rights as conducive to economic growth and intrinsic to the objective of development. We believe in empowering the individual to use his or her entrepreneurial initiative to create legitimate wealth and to enjoy security of person and private property. We believe that through freedom, we can encourage upward mobility for everyone in society. Hence the insistence of the great man of our tradition, Joseph Dankwa, that the purpose of governmental action should be to enhance, quote, the life, liberty, and property of each and every citizen, unquote. The most important property that society can bequeath to its citizens is intellectual property. As Africa's 20th century history has shown, a nation may be endowed with all the riches of nature, gold, diamond, bauxite, oil, platinum, timber, manganese, and uranium, and still remain poor. The most important resource that we have to prioritize in building is the human resource, the mind. The reason why, despite the doubts expressed by the naysayers, free SHS has been instituted and has been accepted by the overwhelming majority of Ghanaians. That is the path to fulfilling the dreams and aspirations of our forebears, who envisioned us to be a united, free, progressive, and prosperous nation, the Black Star of Africa. The Ghanaian people have long been in the forefront of the determination of the African peoples to live lives of freedom and dignity. It led us to being the first nation in sub-Saharan Africa to gain our freedom from colonial rule. It is today directing our efforts at social and economic transformation on the basis of democratic values and institutions, a feat that is rare, if not novel, in human history. We are trying to use the instruments of democracy to transform societies from poverty to prosperity. History tells us that all previous successful efforts in this direction have been made either by authoritarian regimes or by democracies with limited franchises. We are making the effort on the basis of full universal adult suffrage in a free and open society. I am proud to be part of this exceptional history. Chancellor, I have taken longer than I should in making what would normally be a short acceptance speech for the honor done me by this university. But I do not think there could have been a better opportunity to make these points than in the academic atmosphere you have presented to me today. I pray that as more and more of our young people get access to senior, high, and tertiary education, there will be more room for honest and healthy debate in our society. The better educated our citizens are, the richer the content of our public discourse, and the more productive political, social, and economic decision-making. Chancellor, I thank you for the honor you have bestowed on me today. I shall carry it with pride, and I will do my utmost to execute the mandate the Vice Chancellor has charged me with to complete the 500-room hall. May God bless the University of Cape Coast and us all, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. I thank you all for your attention.